Originally, when I decided to do a video about the recent leaks of Kamen Rider Zi-O, I was more or less going to do an elaborate description of what I thought would be cool to see in the season, in the vein of Squall Charleston's How to Adapt series. When I was writing that video, I came up with a bunch of random ideas, including a complicated system of mechanics for how alternate timelines and time travel would work, and a complicated reasoning for Foundation X to be the main villain of the series. However, one thing I tried to keep vague in my description was the gender of the titular main rider. For you see, Zi-O seems to be the most hotly contested rider in regards to what their gender would be, this being the result of a combination of different factors, including a more rounded chest, the choice of pink as the suit's complementary color, and the recent relative success of Lupin Ranger vs. Powder Ranger with their female cast members. Okay, so the former two of those reasons are pretty sexist, but nevertheless, expectations were made. In my first script, I kept their pronouns as they for the time being because, while it seemed highly unlikely, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a female Kamen Rider in a leading role. Not just a leading role, but the role of the main character. So I finished the script, but that very night, more leaks of Zi-O came out, not only confirming my idea wasn't going to happen, but also semi-confirming that Zi-O, like all main riders of the past, will be male. I say semi-confirmed because the words on the catalog scans say, "Rejoice for the birth of a new king!" The part where it says king might be implying that the protagonist will be male, but I'm holding out until we get an official confirmation. I will be referring to Zi-O as a he in this video though, because of the likelihood of that happening. As a result, a lot of people around the Toku community are upset that they may have gotten their hopes up. And that's why I'm here. To say, yes, you did get your hopes up, but it doesn't matter either way. If you clicked on this video with the expectation that this was going to be an in-depth analysis about gender norms and diversity in media in Japan, I'm afraid you're sorely mistaken. I'm not going to beat around the bush here, I'm getting straight to the point. It would be really cool if Zi-O was a girl. I would be fine if Zi-O was another guy. But the thing is, it doesn't matter! Well, to Toei and Bandai at least, I think. Kamen Rider's main priority, in its current state, is to get kids and adult collectors alike to buy their merchandise. Because of that, most of the stories in each season are written with the goal of marketing toys in mind. But it also essentially creates stories where the lead character's gender plays no part in the overarching plot of the series. I'd like you to try something for a second. Think back to your favorite season of Heisei Kamen Rider. Now imagine the exact same show, except the lead rider is now a girl. Is the overall plot of the series any different? Probably not. The majority of the time, from what I can gather, the formation of a Heisei Kamen Rider series goes a little something like this. First toys, then the setup for the story, then character archetypes, then how the story will play out, then actors, and then characters' personalities. Or, put simpler, concept before content. When it comes to a show designed to sell toys, having a good backstory is more important than who the people shilling the fancy pieces of plastic are. That's why I think a lot of the stories in Kamen Rider series are often written with the gender of the protagonist not being a factor in the overall plot of the story. Of course, this is all speculation. I have no idea what goes on in the planning stages of each season of Kamen Rider, so maybe the series is written with males always being the protag. But for the sake of this video, let's just say that Rider is planned with no particular gender in mind for its leading role. It wouldn't matter if the main rider was male or female, because regardless of what they end up doing, they basically serve the same function. To sell a toy. Marika could have been male, and it wouldn't have mattered because the sole point of her character was to sell the Peach Energy Lock Seed. Heisei Kamen Rider is basically a cycle of symbiosis where the toys cause the show to be made, and the show causes the toys to be successful. And it's probable that the characters are the reason people want to buy these toys, and the reason they've strayed from doing female lead riders is that young boys, the target demographic for this show, won't want to buy toys used by girls. And if that's the case, then the best course of action for having a girl rider would be to just make the toys so good they're irresistible, right? You know, start that cycle of symbiosis, eh? I don't know how they do that, especially since I'm not a marketer, but if they're going to make a change like that, you'd figured they'd try to compensate as much as possible. This has gone into a completely separate tangent that I forgot the point of, so I'll just say this. Toei and Bandai don't care about appealing to multiple genders, outside of children and their mothers, only about selling merchandise and crafting a story around that merchandise. That said, if that's the case, why haven't they made a female rider sooner? Well, logically, if the show's priority is how well it can sell its toys and merch, then the success of the show itself becomes a less important factor. Billed as the first Rider season in a long while, due to multiple reasons, to have ratings lower than Super Sentai. And one would think that would mean something bad for the brand itself, but nope! Compare that with Super Sentai. Their 36th season, Go Busters, was both a failure on screens and on toy shelves, so it forced Sentai to start innovating. After a couple seasons of falling back on the lighter tone to try and get by, but still! So despite the level of creativity and experimentation on display in recent seasons, it still all falls into the same template because there hasn't been anything to force the formula to change. Aside from a dip in ratings, which might have caused them to point out that this upcoming season will be more fun than build, and that's probably all the innovation we'll get this season. On multiple levels, since this season is stacking up to essentially be Decade 2, Kamen Rider's in a pretty good state right now, even if Sentai is doing better than them, and it's never reached a point like Sentai did with Go Busters to force it to innovate. If a show's doing good financially, then the obvious answer is to just keep doing what they're doing. In summation, people want a female Kamen Rider, Toei and Bandai probably know they want a female Kamen Rider, but they probably won't do it, because they have no reason to do it. Seeing as how Rider's in a pretty decent place right now, and they have no reason to step outside their comfort zone. Now, I'm not trying to say that Kamen Rider has sold out, that it's afraid of change, and won't get better because Toei is lazy. Kamen Rider has done a lot for many people, and I've thoroughly enjoyed the seasons they put out since I joined the fandom a few years back. And it's proven that it is willing to experiment with new ideas that push boundaries, even if they remain in their comfort zone casting-wise. But I felt the need to acknowledge that, regardless of whether the main hero of the show was male or female, the whole thing is just an advertisement that needs to sell toys in order to survive. You can be a fan of the show and still understand that. And hey, if Zi-O is a girl, yay! Good for you, Toei! You're taking steps without being forced into it! To summarize everything up so I can convince myself I made a cohesive argument, as I've been doing throughout this entire video, Kamen Rider can be whoever you want it to be, just so long as you keep giving Bandai your money. To cap off this video, you may be wondering what I want to see out of Zi-O. Well, like a lot of people, I want to see a good story and some good action scenes, as well as some good tributes to past riders. But, in all honesty, there's something else I would like to see make a return. Something that has been noticeably missing in the latter seasons of the Heisei era. That being the insanely overpowered and broken final form. And when I say that, I don't mean Ex-Aid's final form being invincible to Cronus' paws, or Build Genius being able to dispel nebula gas. I mean a final form that is genuinely overpowered both in and out of the context of the season itself. Something like Kabuto being able to literally travel back in time, or Double having instant access to all knowledge on Earth, or Force being able to shove his opponent into the void of space. And seeing as how this rider in particular is themed around time, I see no reason why they shouldn't at least try to go all out with the OP-ness, aside from budgetary reasons. So, here's my list of what Zi-O's final form powers should include.